operation base in Kafanchang.
It will be the last one, not only because of what we are doing, investing in security, but because we are going to prosecute those that caused this mayhem.
First phase of this project is going to be in the form of a forward operating base, and from there we develop it to a full battalion. Be rest assured, in the next 3 months, the FOB will be ready.
The federal government says it will reimburse Enugu state government with more than 25 billion naira spent in rehabilitating some federal roads in the state. The Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, made the promise when he paid a courtesy visit to Governor Ifeanyi Ogwanyi while on an inspection tour of federal roads in the state.
Contractors are back on site. In the next 18 to 24 months, they will finish. So we're drilling through the length of the road, 200 kilometers, and we've seen work going on.
Nigeria Youth for Buhari says it is providing an alternative platform by way of youth change convention instead of resorting to rallies and protests that could be hijacked by those with dubious motives. The group stated this during a media briefing in Abuja.
So far, we have seen more than a diligent push to shift our economy from a mono economy powered by oil and gas to a more diverse economy. Agriculture and its possibilities are being embraced by many. We want to make it clear again, this is not a government initiative. So whoever wants to come on board should know that he will be allowed to take part in it.
Preparatory to the kickoff of the cash transfer scheme of the federal government's social investments program, the National Social Safety Nets Coordinating Officer, NASCO, has begun training of community-based targeting teams in 6 local government areas of Anambra State.
Must at every point in time look at how it takes care of its aged people. Those, due to no fault of theirs, cannot have viable means of livelihood. Particularly, the federal government is serious with moving ahead with Anambra State. The cash transfer has started in those 8 states.
We have provided office accommodation with working tools to this unit. The state has constituted community-based targeting team across the 6 pilot LGAs.
Cameroon comes from behind to beat Egypt 2-1 in the final of the 2017 Africa Cup of Nations to emerge the champions of Africa. The goals from Nicolas Nkaulau and Vincent Abubakar sealed a remarkable comeback victory for Cameroon as the indomitable Lions were crowned African Cup of Nations winners for the first time in 15 years. It was, however, the 5th time that the country is lifting the trophy.
Very slow Al-Hadri there to get down. It all changed with just moments left on the clock. Vincent Abubakar all on his own. 3 Egyptian defenders. What a magnificent finish. There is your African champions for 2017. Wow, Kings of the Jungle. And they will host us in 2 years' time.
Well, congratulations to Cameroon there, and there'll be more on sports later in the program. Well, that's the news for now. Good morning, Nigeria continues with Blessing and Kingsley after this break. Good morning.
If you hear a bomb explosion or gunshots of an active shooter, that might be a terror attack. At such times, always remember 3 action words: run, hide, report. Don't try to run towards the terror scene to save the situation, because there might be a second bomb blast or another attack. Run far away and take cover. Make sure you are safe first. Yes, it is in our nature to sympathize over the hurt, but remember, only trained personnel can help in such situations. When in a secured environment, promptly call relevant authorities and help will come. For anonymous reporting, call 09630-3250-5 or 0813-2222-106. If you see something, say something. Nigeria, unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Hello, dear. You've got the first signs of a sore throat.
Yes, and I'm afraid it could be signs of a sore throat.
Don't you worry. Just act immediately, but not with non-medicated throat sweets. Take an expert product. Take Strepsils. Look at what it does to sore throat germs compared to a throat sweet. Strepsils not only stops the germs from multiplying, it even kills them.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, sore throat. Stop a sore throat early. Take Strepsils.
The federal government's social investment program has begun. The poorest and most vulnerable in the land get 5,000 naira monthly, and phase 1 has started in 9 states of the federation. 200,000 unemployed graduates have been engaged in the N-Power Volunteer Corps, designed to engage 500,000 people. 5.5 million children will be fed regularly in the homegrown school feeding program, which kicked off in 3 states last year, with 9 more to be added this year. And under the Government Enterprise and Empowerment Program, GEEP, thousands of cooperatives, market women, farmers, and enterprising youth have been receiving between 10,000 and 100,000 naira soft loans since November 2016. The social investment program has begun. It can only get better. We promise change. Change is here.
Here on to Good Morning Nigeria. For the business report this morning, the federal government is to dialogue with the private sector on the actualization of the economic recovery and growth plan. We'll find out more details with Leah Katumba Batunde.
The Ministry of Budget and National Planning says it is in the process of finalizing Nigeria's Economic Recovery and Growth Plan (NERGP) 2017 to 2020 development process. The plan is expected to be formally launched by President Muhammadu Buhari within the month. A statement by the Special Advisor Media to the Ministry of Budget and National Planning, James Akpandam, states that the forum is being organized for representatives of the private sector to actively engage their public sector counterparts on the proposals as part of efforts towards carrying the critical sectors along and ensuring successful development of the plan. The forum, scheduled for noon today, is expected to be chaired by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo. The NERGP is a follow-up to the Strategic Implementation Plan (SIP), which was a short-term economic plan to drive the implementation of the 2016 budget. In the SIP, government promised that it would deliver a more comprehensive economic recovery and growth plan subsequently. Nigerian micro, small and medium enterprises (MSMEs) have had to operate in tight conditions, thereby limiting their output. While most active economies are anchored on MSMEs, same cannot be said for the country. This is why the federal government says it is working to ensure the actualization of the One Local Government, One Product, All Up initiative.
Part of the whole ease of doing business is to ensure that the incentives are articulated and they see the benefits of the incentives. Once people see the benefit of incentives, then they understand that they do themselves a disservice when you remain at a micro level. Now, part of the way you can also grow is coming together in producers club and cooperatives, and that's one of the core things that we would emphasize.
The 12 months of this year will see 12 states hosting the MSME clinic to address those problems facing the development of micro, small and medium enterprises, which has kicked off in Abuja.
You to document what you're spending, what you're earning, and whether you have a vision or not for your business, so that whoever wants to invest knows that there's a vision. I'm investing in something that will yield results. If you want to keep it at a micro level, it's still fine. Then you want to expand, or you need more to enable you to have more turnover. You should be able to speak to these things. It doesn't matter what language you speak.
It is hoped that industrial clusters will spring up across the country with sustained capacities to meet local demand as well as exports. The equities market closed Friday on a negative note as the oil share index depreciated by 0.52% compared with the 0.13% appreciation recorded previously. Its year-to-date returns currently stands at 3.99%. Let's take a look at latest closing figures from the NSE. The United Nations has warned that if swift action is not taken, Somalia will experience a famine in 2017. Somalia experienced a devastating famine in 2011, which killed over 250,000 people and ranks as the worst famine of the 21st century. The Deputy Special Representative of the UN Secretary General for Somalia, Peter de Klerk, made the disclosure after a 3-year fact-finding mission to Somaliland and Puntland in Somalia to highlight the devastating impact of the current drought. The clerk, who is also the United Nations resident humanitarian coordinator for Somalia, saw firsthand the effects of drought induced by sparse rainfall, dwindling water resources, and poor crop harvest.
Very large numbers of livestock have died already. The livestock that is still there is in very, very bad shape. We've just visited this village, and none of the water sources that was there before, that was shared actually between the people and the animals, is functioning at the moment. So people are completely depending on water coming into this village, being trucked into this village, and that is actually typical for many other villages as well.
According to the Food Security and Nutrition Analyst Unit and the Farming Early Warning System Network, the number of Somalis in need of assistance has risen sharply in recent months, from an estimated 5 million in September 2016 to over 6.2 million today. The latter figure represents more than half of Somalia's entire population. The Business News, I'm Lea Cutting, Babatunde.
All right, thank you very much, dear Lea Katumba Batunde, for the business package. Next for us now is a look at the headlines in some of today's newspapers.
A newspaper reviewer by Atoye is already seated and ready to move for his first day in the week. Good morning to you, Bayo.
Good morning, Blessing. Good morning, Kingsley. Good morning, Nigeria.
All right, Bayo, a pleasure to have you with us this morning. Now, we're taking a look at the front pages of the papers, and one story that is common to them, actually the lead story in all of the papers, has to do with the presidency. Let's take a look now, beginning with This Day newspaper. Let's see how This Day captures it. This Day has it as a double-decker headline: Buhari extends medical leave indefinitely, and Nigerians react. He has a rider. He is not in a London hospital, says presidency. That's the way This Day captions it. And then for the Authority newspaper, the Authority newspaper also says, as his lead story, double-decker headline as well, anxiety as Buhari extends medical vacation. And it has two riders. Again, writes NAS, that's the National Assembly, and a related copy indicates that IBB, that's the former military president, returns from medical trip in Switzerland. Listen.
Okay, for the pilots, the story about the president we just talked about is captured this way. Suspense as Buhari extends vacation. A story is trended on page 5, but that's how the lead story for the pilots is taken. Quickly to the Daily Trust is taken in this manner. Buhari extends UK stay, awaits medical report. Starts right there or continues on page 5. Bye.
Yes, this is sequel to a letter from the presidency to the National Assembly dated February 5th, that is yesterday, that Mr. President is extending his vacation in United Kingdom. This, according to the special advisor to the President of Media, this is to enable him complete tests and receive the results as recommended by his doctors. He was scheduled to return to Abuja Sunday, but now will wait and complete the test cycle before returning. His vacation was for a period that was to end, started January 19th and was to end February 5th. Mr. Femi Adesina says the president expressed his sincere gratitude to all Nigerians and for their concern, prayers, and kind wishes. The special assistant to the president on the media says he is not hospitalized. He is not in hospital. Rather, he is in the High Commission awaiting results of tests. Meanwhile, in another development like Kingsley read, former military president General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida has also returned to Mina. He was away for about 7 weeks on vacation in Switzerland. He said, "I am feeling stronger and better now. I must thank Nigerians immensely for their prayers and concerns over my health." And he added, a call on Nigerians to pray for their leaders and the country. We should remain united and work for progress, and and continue to pray for our leaders.
All right, Bayo. I mean, of course, you know, the way the headlines represent the stories in the papers that we just took a look at. Anxiety, that's what authority is saying, and what Blessing read, suspense, and then this day, of course, saying the leave has been extended indefinitely. The rule ordinarily would be, I mean, if the president is on vacation, he's already transmitted a letter to the National Assembly. I think the concern probably would have been more if, at the expiration of the date he had indicated yesterday, there was no further communication to the National Assembly, in particular the Senate, informing the members that, look, he was extending his vacation. There are no rules concerning how long the president can be on vacation for, by the way, in the Constitution.
As expected, yes. I think the newspaper headlines are following their trail of sensationalism. You will recall that there is heightened concern because of the rumor of the president's death, and that has been paid to that. That's utterly false. And also, there was even another false one, which the Honorable Minister of Information had to dispel, that the president was not returning because of a faulty aircraft, and he said he never issued any such statement. So these are the impetuses that is giving concern for the suspense and the anxiety. And that is why the special assistant had to come on critically and say he is not hospitalized. He is not in hospital. He is actually in the Nigerian High Commission waiting for the test cycle.
All right. And of course, whenever the president returns, he communicates again to the Senate to say, I have returned.
Constitutionally, yes.
I have returned and I'm resuming my duties. In the meantime, of course, the acting president, Yabi Oshibajo, you know, has the reins of the administration.
Yes, there's no vacuum.
Yes, that's right.
No vacuum.
Okay, so let's return to this day newspaper and take a look at one or two other headlines. Just above the nameplate, you have, you know, it's FBN, GTB, Zenith, Access, and others among top 500 global banks. Now, we already took a look at the lead story, which we just finished discussing. The other headline also says, which is related, of course, to what is happening in the polity, but it's a rider. It says, uncertainty as Justice Onogan's tenure lapses. All eyes on Oshibajo. Well, his tenure hasn't lapsed exactly.
No, it has not.
As acting Chief Justice of Nigeria. So that's the related copy there. Listen.
Okay, let's take a look at the Daily Trust. We have just below the nameplate, 3.5 million truck tires vanished from Dangote stores. How did it come about? We'll find out from page 5. 2017 budget, National Assembly to conduct public hearing. You find that story on page 3. Okay, moving further down, because the photograph you have there is that of the elated team of Cameroon as it beat Egypt to claim AFCON title. Of course, as the jubilation mode today. Cameroon national team players and their coaches celebrate after beating Egypt 2-1 to win the 2017 African Cup of Nations final at in Libreville, Gabon yesterday. Nationwide power audit underway. This is coming from federal government. Those are other headlines you find just below the photograph there. Suspected robber set ablaze in Benue. Osinbajo chairs economic plan forum today. Quickly now to the pilot. We have some other stories. The pilots, the Nigerian pilot for today, just below the nameplate as well. Vice President SGF defy presidential directive on NDPHC. In fact, is the body. You find on page 6. Petty criminals discredited politicians basking on our achievements. This is the independent people of the Biafra. That's what you find on page 5. Okay, the photograph you have there is that of the chairman, Dr. Lance Thompson. Is a UN body. Executive Director, Chief Executive Officer, Nigerian Export Promotion Council, NEPC, Mr. Olusegun Awolowo. Trade Advisor and Chief Negotiation, Federal Minister of Trade, as well as Ambassador, that's the President of Ambassador Chiedo Sakwe, and also another ministry's staff, Mrs. Regina Edweza, during a national sensitization workshop on trade facilitation. That's a photograph. Two-Face chickens out. Two-Face of his Innocent Idibia, a popular musical artist in Nigeria. There are two writers to that story. Confusion, suspense over planned protests. To hold or not to hold. That story starts right there but continues on page 6. Will jail perpetrators of Southern Kaduna killings. This is coming from the governor of Rufai. And I'll be president of Nigeria. This is coming from Fayoshe, that's the governor of Ekiti State. From Father Mbaka, you have the story. Those wishing Buhari dead don't love Nigeria. That story you find on page 7. And we are committed to equitable sharing of public positions. This is coming from FCC. Vote of no confidence on Governor Bello. This is coming from their lawmaker. All the details on pages 4. The two stories you find on page 4. I beg your pardon. Bayo.
Did I hear you say 3.5 million tires disappeared?
Truck tires vanished from Dangote stores.
They couldn't have vanished. They were signed for by 285 drivers, and each tire has a registration number, and therefore they are traceable. Already, some tire dealers have been arrested because they've been found to have in their possession those tires. They are to account for how they got those tires. You know, most of these truck trailers, they have so many tires, some 16 tires to get a truck on the road, and therefore the man had to have so many tires, and as many as 3.5 million tires were stolen. The rich also cry, you know.
I'll just wonder. Yeah, well, that's fine. But two things. First, there's some notoriety about some of the truck drivers for Dangote in terms of the crashes they are involved in from time to time. That's one leg of it. But the other leg is, where are those tires manufactured? 3.5 million. And considering the size of those tires.
Yes. And
anyway,
gone are the days when we had tire manufacturing in Nigeria. And that is another thing. We need to bring back our tire manufacturing industries.
Absolutely.
Now, talking about the protest that was to be but is no longer going to be, Innocent Idibia says his planned protest against hardship faced by Nigerians for Abuja and Lagos has been called off. He said after due consultation with his colleagues, his protest, which he tagged One Voice, is being under hijack by allied people who are against the ideas for which he is going. Police, through the first PRO, had advised that they shelve the peaceful protest because of the interest of peace and security. In fact, the Commissioner of Police in Lagos, Fatai Oshini, initially has said the protest would not be allowed because they had intelligence that criminals would hijack it and wreak havoc on Lagos. A pro-government group also had also given an indication that they were going out to protest on the same day. So after a meeting with the protesters and the police, they now agreed that the protest will end in assembling at a point and they will read a statement. At the end of the day, I think Wise Council took the pedal of it, and Two-Face Idibia made a statement. He says that the motive of his protest is not worth the death of anybody. Therefore, he has called that off. There are other fallouts from it. Professor Olisho Inga has berated the police and said that the police should have emulated the United States. And it was wrong for the police to have said they will stop the protest. And you will recall that even at the inauguration of President Donald Trump, 30 groups had permission from police to protest. And even then, they were stopped from protesting along the Capitol Hill, the 2-mile stretch up to the White House. So their protest was to a specific place to be guided by the police. Even at that, it eventually resulted into violence. Meanwhile, issue of Kaduna now. Governor El Rufai of Kaduna State has vowed that all those who are found culpable in the Kaduna crisis will be jailed. He has asserted that this last Kaduna crisis will be the last. You will recall that as far back as 1982, there have been series of crises in Kaduna, numbering over 10 series of crises. And the Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria, they call themselves Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association, they say that the crisis in southern Kaduna has nothing to do with religion. The National Secretary of Miyetti Allah, Baba Uthman Ngilari, says that the crisis, like any other, is between herdsmen and farmers. He said it started from simple farm destruction in Godogodo, and it blossomed out because it was badly managed. He cited the instance that in Zamfara State, it is farmers who are Muslims versus farmers who are Muslims. In Katsina, it is farmers who are Fulani versus herdsmen who are Fulani, and therefore tagging it as religious was a misnomer. Meanwhile, the Nigerian Army has established a formation in southern Kaduna, and it was at that occasion that Governor Nasir El-Rufai said this will be the last of the crisis in Kaduna.
Okay, so.
All right, yeah, Bayo, thank you very much. Just to take another headline, I'm just wondering, we had a story, Blessing, in our news bulletin about the Chief of Army Staff ordering his troops to go into the forest and fish out the criminals, responsible for this. Otherwise, we likely will also have to monitor the implication the ongoing crisis or the continuing crisis would have on agriculture.
Yes.
Either for cultivation or for harvest, and so on and so forth. So
now, if you study closely the crisis, you will notice that you have those clashes where the agrarian culture, where the agricultural activity is heightened because the land is fertile there, and there is a lot of crops there. The cattle, the herders also wish to take their cattle to those areas to graze, and that is why you are having the conflict, and that is likely to affect agricultural production.
All right, Bayo Atoyebi, just lastly, let's take the second lead story from the front page of the Authority newspaper. Just the bottom half of the second of the front page of the Authority newspaper. Half of world's out-of-school children in Nigeria. That's attributed to UBEC. So that's the last story. Of course, we are taking this morning. Bayo, we'd like to thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, we'll take a short break now. When we return, of course, we'll be dealing with the issue of security, inspection, and other matters at the ports against the background of illegal arms importation into the country.
Change begins with you and me. Change begins with me. Change begins with me. Change begins with me.
Hi guys, look how my baby Jamil has grown. And as they grow, there's a worry we all share, skin rash. Some use lotions or petroleum jelly, but I found what works for Jamil is Nigerian Pampers. It has built-in lotion to help protect his delicate skin and keep him dry. See you in the morning, Jam Jam. Good morning, happy Jam Jam. Dry and soft and no sign of a rash. Join many other moms and try Nigerian Pampers with lotion. Let's beat the rash.
NTA Properties Investment Company Limited, a subsidiary of the Nigerian Television Authority, specializes in creating comfort in all areas of life, such as real estate investments, that is, land, houses, and office spaces, mass leasing, savings and loan scheme, household items and car loans, and so much more. Other information and entertainment services include Property in Style, a TV program that airs on the network service of the NTA, and also Property Connect, a nationwide magazine. Our priority is to bridge poverty gaps and sustain quality welfare of our clients. Partner with us and watch us help you grow. Pay us a visit today at the NTA headquarters permanent site, Area 11 Garki, Abuja, or our Lagos office at number 15 Awolowo Road, Ikoyi, Lagos. For more information, visit our website on www.ntaproperties.com.ng or you can email us on ntap2000@yahoo.com. Call us on 080-2316-3474 or 080-6939-5185 or 070-3189-0555. NTA Properties Investment Company Limited, the much needed help at your doorstep.
Coca-Cola?
Oh, it's happy hour. So, you want a free Coca-Cola, but you have to drink it here.
Hello, dear. You've got the first signs of a sore throat.
Yes, and I'm afraid it could be signs of a sore
Don't you worry. Just act immediately, but not with non-medicated throat sweet. Take an expert product. Take Strepsils. Look at what it does to sore throat germs compared to a throat sweet. Strepsils not only stops the germs from multiplying, it even kills them.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, sore throat. Stop a sore throat early. Take Strepsils.
The program is Good Morning Nigeria, showing live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA. Well, as a prompt to our conversation this morning, we'll take a look at this background report. Taking a shipment inspection in Nigeria, the question arising. Part of our discussion on Good Morning Nigeria.
In 1996, the federal government of Nigeria introduced a port reform package to enhance efficiency in the maritime sector and port operations in Nigeria. That set the tone and provided vital operation techniques in the activeness of the Nigerian Ports Authority, NPA. These techniques include computerized billing system, unification and streamlining of documents and delivery processes. Deliberate policies were put in place to create better operating environment for all customers and port operators. This amounts to making any shipping company intending to bring cargo into a Nigerian seaport has to clear the ship by obtaining ship entry notice 2 months in advance from the Operations Department of Nigerian Port Authority. Likewise, the customer could obtain clearance through a registered and licensed agent based in Nigeria. In the same vein, the shipper sends the bill of lading in advance of the arrival of the ship to the importer. That document contains the name of the ship carrying the goods, the description of the goods along with their marks and numbers, the date of departure from port of loading, weight of the cargo, the terms of contract of affreightment. Another step of clearing goods in the port is that the clearing agent will obtain shipping charges from the shipping company that conveys the cargo from country of origin. In a like manner, agent will also proceed to the terminal operator's office to obtain a debit note or terminal charges. The responsibilities of these terminal operators are to secure the container and provide handling equipment required to shift, move, load and position containers for customs examination or scanning process within the seaports. At the final clearing stage, the truck proceeds to the final gate and waits for another round of documentation by the customs, which includes confirmation of duty payment, endorsement and multiple registrations of documents. This is in addition to another regulations guiding the operations of other relevant government agencies and international laws regulating maritime operations. All these are meant to check the importation of banned and even substandard goods in the Nigerian market. But despite all these strict measures, some of the banned items still find their ways into the Nigerian market. Consequently, accusing fingers are pointed at different agencies, especially the Nigerian customs, who are the main gatekeepers. Apart from the fact that some of these products are contrabands, substandard and hazardous products are also said to be imported, which some experts believe contribute to the increasing cases of cancer killers-related diseases. The recent seizure of 661 firearms by the Nigerian customs has generated a lot of concerns as Nigerians continue to wonder how the arms managed to escape the eagle eyes of the various officials at the port. Is it that these strict measures are inadequate, or it is a function of being compromised by the operators? These would be some of the issues to be addressed by guests on Good Morning Nigeria today.
All right, thank you very much, Yemi Ajayi, for that elaborate background report. Now we have a number of guests to discuss matters arising from the issues that Oyemi has indicated in the background report. The guests are with us here in the Abuja studios as well as at our Lagos Network Center. First, we would like to welcome Malam Othman Abdul Saleh, is Comptroller in charge of import and export at the Nigeria Customs headquarters here in the Federal Capital Territory. Malam Othman, a pleasure to have you on the program.
Good morning, Manager. It's my pleasure to be here.
Okay. And then also with us here is Dr. Chris Asoluka. Dr. Asoluka is a former member of the House of Representatives as well as a transport economist focusing essentially on shipping. Dr. Asoluka, a pleasure to have you join us.
Thank you very much.
Okay. And from our Lagos Network studios, we have Mr. Laiwola Shitu. Mr. Shitu is President, Association of Customs Licensed Agents. Mr. Shitu, a pleasure to have you join us again on the program.
Good to be here.
Still with the Lagos studio, we have Princess Victoria Hastrop, who's the chair of Sea Terminal Operators Association of Nigeria. Ms. Hastrop, we'd like to thank you for coming on the program this morning. And the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria is of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. Good morning and welcome to the program. Saluya.
Good morning, Nigerian. It's good to be here.
All right. Well, let's begin the conversation, with the guests who are right there in the Lagos studios. That's where you have a number of the busiest spots in the country. I'm sure you also had the benefit of listening to the background report presented by our reporter Oyemi Ajayi a moment ago. You're also familiar with a number of stories emanating from the ports lately, the regular issues of delays and so on and so forth. And now we are seeing some high security risk cargo, slipping through the ports or otherwise, being tracked probably at the last minute before they get into the market. From your perspective, what exactly is happening? Do we have efficiency and effectiveness in terms of oversight of the various, or if not numerous, agencies that are the ports? Let's begin this with Mr. Shitu.
Thank you very much. If you are not working in the ports, you will not be able to know the challenges that is bedeviling early release of cargo, including disappearance of cargo, and all the assorted issues. The port is not a place where you can walk in and walk out with a cargo. There are a lot of documentary processes you need to follow. There are various government agencies involved in cargo clearance. The issue is, where have we gotten it wrong? How can a container just walk out? I think that lies solely on the responsibility of the security agencies. I can tell you honestly, we have called for reassessment of the 1996 import guideline because every day new challenges occur security-wise all over the world. Some of the things we might say could jeopardize the investigation that is going on now. But I think we should go beyond that investigation. We are not comfortable, really, that the customs is saddled with investigating issues that affect their own officers. It should be an elaborate investigation. Let us use this opportunity to clean up the system. The system is very rotten as it is now. Corruption is all over the place. No matter how very straight a shipper is, there will always be issues raised that will put him at a disadvantage. And at the end of the day, corruption exists. When the pre-arrival assessment report was to be established, we all welcomed that new innovation. And it was supposed to make sure that there are no personal interaction. Everything was supposed to be done online. But along the way, the same security agencies still insist that you must bring paperwork for them to see. The custom agent, the Nigerian customs, and all the security agencies don't know the content of a except what is written on the bill of lading saying said to contain. So if the said to contain says doors, they are doors. until examination is done to find out whether they are does or not. However, the way we practice clearing process in Nigeria is far too traditional. It belongs to the old age. Right in those advanced countries where we have traveled to, there are scanners that will give you the picture of what is contained in a container. These scanners that are dead in the port were not brought in by customs or security agencies. They were brought in by contractors to the Federal Ministry of Finance, and whether they were of the top grade is another issue entirely, because our association kicked that they were not the modern scanners that will help you to determine what is contained in a container. Look, the container that was impounded had some doors and had crates of arms and ammunition. Scanners will be able to determine the structure of those consignments, and those are the ones that will now go straight for re-examination, where they are in doubt. But now we don't have such scanners. The way we are operating now, we need a really turnaround. If this one had passed through, only God knows, like you said, how many could have passed through before now. There are people whose job is to beat the system. So the more they are thinking of how to beat the system, the more proactive the security agencies should be in beating the system too, their own system. I think that's what we need to do now.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Olawiwola Shitu. Still with you in Lagos, the next question is going, of course, to Princess Victoria Hastrop. Well, for many agencies present at the port to actually look into the issue of clearance and also topmost security. Again and again, on several reports, stories have coming from time to time, even some already pointed out by Mr. Shitu. Where exactly are we not having this, or why are we not having this effective and efficient clearance to some of the goods that we have at the ports? What exactly is your own position from your own body?
Thank you very much. My position is not different from the position of Prince Shitu. I think Nigerian port is a place that's among all the ports in the world, the Nigerian port is operating in the 19th centuries. Don't let me say 18th centuries. The way the processes that people go through to clear their cargo is quite making it very, very frustrating for our customers. You know, I represent the seaport terminal operators. And the processes, as far as I'm concerned, are too cumbersome because you have a lot of, like you said earlier on, we have a lot of government agencies, so many agencies in the ports that are not even supposed to be there. In other parts of the world, you don't find such agencies. You should have simply just 4 government agencies operating within the port system. But in Nigeria, you have several of them. And you have to keep going from one point to the other. And, you know, because of corruption in Nigeria, it's really becoming very, very frustrating for port users, particularly the clearing agents, to clear their goods in the Nigerian port. And, you know, by and large, the final conclusion of it is that it makes it very, very expensive because you pass from one table to the other, which that's not what obtained in other parts of the world. And he mentioned the issue of having a world-class scanners. You can run away from that. What should do the job for everyone, for Nigerian Customs Service, is the scanner, quality scanner, not the kind of scanner that was bought several years ago that have not become obsolete. And I would want to encourage Nigerian Customs Service to also, train their officers in intelligence gathering. If they are well equipped and they are well trained in intelligence gathering, it will help them in actually identifying or spotting, issues of where cargoes are wrongly or not well declared, like the issue of this container that we're talking about, or where container get flight out of the Nigerian port. You know, it's very, very important. The issue of having an intelligence gathering, getting the custom officers well trained it can be well overemphasized. And it's only in Nigeria that physical examinations are done on cargoes. Because what it does at the end of the day is that it slows down the operations of, the cargo throughput in the port, which does not really all go well for port users, for port operators, because as you know, time is of essence in maritime trade all over the world. It's really of essence. So when you delay, cargo throughput is delayed unnecessarily because of approval from one point to the other, from one agencies of government to the other, it really doesn't all go well. It does not, it affects trade facilitations from country to country, from customer to customer. Nigeria is thinking, maybe, it should agitate our mind why Nigeria at this point has not become the hub port in the West African sub-region. Why? It's just because of this archaic way that we are doing, that business is being facilitated in the Nigerian port. It's a problem. And if you don't, address it now, I'll tell you, Nigerian ports will become an isolated port very soon, because a lot of frustrations is being encountered and being experienced by port users in Nigeria. It doesn't give, it doesn't add value to us. It's a shame that at this point, Nigeria being the biggest African country in the world, Nigeria is still operating our ports the way it's been operated. I think it's high time something is done to this.
All right, Mr. John Aluya, Mr. John Aluya is the next person able to pop my question to us. I want to express appreciation to Princess Haustrup. We'll come back to you, Princess Haustrup, in the course of the conversation to deal with some other aspects of port operations. But to bring in the Manufacturers Association member, Mr. John Aluya. Mr. John Aluya, a number of members of MAN, of course, users of port facilities, they also encounter some of the issues already described by both Shitu and Haustrup. Breaking it down, what has been the experience and what do you find as the greatest obstacles through the efficient utilization of port, whether for import or for export?
Thank you very much. The biggest challenges faced by manufacturers are basically what the two speakers have enumerated. We have a port where every government agency wants to be present. No matter what they are doing, every ministry, government agencies want to be represented at the port. What is their business? Port basically is supposed to be the business of the customs. And of course, 1 or 2, maximum of 4 security agencies should be at the port. But we have several agencies even within one organization, they duplicate different sections. The police will tell you this is IG. Another one will tell you this is the commissioner's representative. Another will tell you this is from the Zone 2 representative. What are they doing? They are all there to slow down the process of cargo clearing. And let me tell you, we lost the position of Nigeria as a hub of West Africa to a tiny Togo. Why did we do that? Because of the level of corruption we have in our system. I know Alhaji Shitu will be able to tell you every table, the more tables they create at the port, the more the cost of cargo clearance goes. Nigeria, the total import of West African sub-region, Nigeria have about 70% of the volume. If Nigeria alone, with a big population and big market, account for 70% of our import, obviously it means Nigeria should be the transshipment port for this region. But today we are not. And we are not even making effort to ensure that we get there. Rather, we allow things to slip through our fingers and we start blaming one. I'm not surprised of what happened in the issue of container. Scanners are not there. From the onset, we have advocated that let there be a fixed scanner at the various discharge points at the seaport. So when containers are being moved and be offloaded from the ship, they are automatically scanned. The importer need not be there, his agent need not be there, nobody need to be there. After the scanning, if there are issues with, let's say, 3 containers, it is those 3 containers that will now be routed to physical examination. But what do we have today? We have over 95 of our import being physically examined. How do you want the process to move forward? These are the challenges. I think one of the things we should do to move the port system forward is to critically examine the way, change our operation to at least conform with international best practices. A scanner take about 30 seconds, fixed scanner, 30 seconds, let's add 1 minute to scan a container. But the type of scanner we have here, mobile scanner, it moves from one end to another. It spends 5 to 10 minutes in scanning one container. Where will you get the efficiency from? Where your counterparts all over the world are spending 30 seconds to scan a container, and you are spending 5 to 10 minutes. Are we productive? But the most important thing we all talked about here, which my colleague has mentioned, we manufacturers are the people that bear the brunt. Because at the end of the day, the demurrage, rent, whatever, is going to be passed to us. And we have to pay. And this is why you find that the cost of goods and services in the Nigerian market are always very high. And that also leads us to where you find that goods made in Nigeria are higher than imported products. Why? Because there's so many inbuilt costs, which in a normal environment are not part of the operational cost. But here in Nigeria, we incur such costs. So for the port to move forward, I think there should be a holistic approach.
John Aluya, thank you very much from my Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. Okay, we have to come back to our Abuja studio. We still have our guest seated, but the question is going to Dr. Chris Asoluka, because as a transport economist, this is something not new to you, because you have to take an overview of what is happening. Princess Hastrop described what we're having at our port as 19th century service, and we're in the 21st century. Who still does business the way we're doing at the ports? And what are your own findings? What exactly is the situation that we have on our hands and what we have to do?
Yeah, before you have what we say the best practice, I know the challenge facing Nigerian custom. First, they have to collect duties, but also they have to enforce the anti-smuggling activities, including making sure that the contraband goods don't get into Nigeria. And there has to be a security dimension to this. So they have a full plate. Is it trade facilitation on the one hand or ensuring the security? But like they say, we're not in the 19th century. If you go to Port of, say, Rotterdam, if you go to Antwerp, go to Singapore, people don't talk about these things. Imagine when you have a ship with 18,000 containers unloaded within 5-10 hours. How would you do that? How would you cope in Nigeria if a ship with 6,000 containers visits any of our ports? It could be a sheer disaster. It could cause what you may call congestion, whether it's the land base or the sea base. So the best practice now is that transportation is technology driven. As most of these things are done seamlessly, and you don't need to see an importer in order to determine the kind of goods he has imported. From the first process, you go to your bank or authorized dealer, open a Form M, describe the kind of things you want to import, produce a pro forma invoice, and the documentation, if satisfied, they forward to custom. When the former Comptroller General of Custom boasted that he has invented or innovated what he called the pre-arrival assessment report, one thought that it could entail that before your goods physically arrive in Nigeria, all the agencies would have been alerted the kind of consignment you have. So if it has to do with food and drug, NAFDAC would be pre-informed. If it has to do with standard organization, will be pre-informed, so that they don't need to all be physically present at the port. Because when you go to ports like in America, of course, there's only one table. The documentation is that if it has a permit sought from any agency, before the goods arrive, the agency would have sorted it out with the importer. So this idea of contact importations is old school, it's technology driven, and you cannot overemphasize the need for scanners, up-to-date scanners. So as these containers are being unloaded, people know the kind of things that you have in the containers. Like the Manufacturer Association man has said, it's very, very critical that manufacturers who are known, you don't need to examine 100% of their cargo. But if it is one time Chris and Sons Limited importing from China, from the designation and the description, you know that you have to put a thorough, oversight on that. But if it is, say, brewery, Nigeria breweries, you know the kind of things they import. They have about 600 containers. Would you subject each and every container? And there's something internationally called the scale of examination. If it is a uniform consignment, you can, randomly pick in order to cross-check. But if they are the Chris and Son kind of importers, of course, you have to subject some of the importation to 100%. So like we said, importation is technology-driven these days. If you want to get to that point where Nigeria wants to be.
Like you, there are importers, big-time importers, whom we gave what we call a fast track. When their goods come, they carry, once they pay the duty, we allow them to carry their consignments to their premises. Examination is done there in their premises. So all this, we're talking these one-time importers. They're the ones that are really giving these problems, the physical examination.
Okay, what is the cost of a scanner, at least, let's say, at least a fairly innovated one for such a service as we have?
Actually, they cost much. I can't really tell you how much they cost, but I know they're very expensive.
No, but you should know what you're working with and what is going to cost. If you're going to advise the government based on what you think it should be effective for your use.
We already have mailed proposal to the government, and even our Minister of Finance, with the decision that one time they were at the international airport, they saw the scanner, she wrote she was briefed on the problem we have with scanners, and she said definitely, and ensure that only those ones that are supposed to be there are there.
Okay, Malam Othman, we'll come back to you. We'll return to Lagos now. Princess Hastrop, let's have a feel of your own position. Malam Othman here just made mention of even the terminal operators to having to work with obsolete equipment, whatever, actually causing some of their own constraints as well. What exactly is body, the terminal operators, doing to actually ease this aspect of decongesting the ports, as well as making business easy for manufacturers as well as other importers of goods and services?
Thank you very much. I will not join issue with the custom boss, because I'm not aware that terminals operators are, operating their business, are performing their duties with obsolete equipment. That's not true. If you go to the Nigerian port today, the terminals operators have put a lot of equipment in place, high-tech equipment that we are using. Some of them are actually automated as I'm talking. The infrastructural development is also done by terminal operators. We've done what we need to do. Equipment do break down, but I can tell you as it breaks down, like even human beings do break down, bodies do break down. When equipment breaks down, we quickly replace it with another equipment. I do not know any terminal operators in Nigeria today that do not have equipment to do their job or to discharge cargoes. We are fully equipped. I don't think customs service should be trying to shift blame. You know, it's important for everybody to look inwards and see areas where we need to improve in our operations, in our areas of operations. So, you know, as far as I'm concerned, you know, I haven't seen any terminal operators that do not have equipment to do their job. Equipment, like I said, equipment do break down. But as soon, even when you are performing this duty, when you are delivering cargoes, if the one equipment breaks down, you quickly replace with another. You know, we are fully equipped. We have equipment. Some of these equipment are even automated equipment, you know, like the terminals that, you know, are doing container operations in the ports. I've visited a lot of my colleagues, all this port, and I know a lot of them has invested heavily in procurement of equipment. Because you see, equipment is key to the all operations, all terminal operations, you know, of any terminal operator. So we know that. So, and we want to quickly turn around both the ship and the cargo. So if you don't have equipment, how will you be able to do the job? So yeah, I won't join issues with him, but I tell you, he's been economical with the truth. Terminals operators are fully equipped. We have invested heavily because we know that is the bedrock of our operation. So that's not true.
All right, Princess Hastrop, thank you very much. Again, we will come back to you in the course of this conversation. Just to indicate that we have reactions already, quite a number of them, from our viewers by way of Twitch. They're taking advantage of our Twitter handle. It's right on the left side of your screen at NTAGMA. We'll take some of those tweets now and then we'll return to our guests to elaborate further on either the issues raised in the tweets or other matters pertaining to the subject we are discussing. Ibrahim Tudu has this tweet. Clearing agents at the ports are the most problematic and corruption-ridden part of the port system. We need change.
From Sani Michael Omakoji, it says administrative bureaucracy has become the hallmark of our value system, including issues that demand prompt attention. Too bad.
Festus Akimboyewa has this tweet, that a 40-foot container can leave our ports without any examination is a national disgrace. It shows the level of corruption in our ports.
From Oluyide Adedayo, we need effective check and balance in our ports and borders. Any persons or officers that involved himself in this lapse must be suspended.
And then Akimboyewa has another tweet. It says, time for the federal government to install scanners in all our ports to prevent criminals from importing weapons and other contraband into the country.
From Omakoji again is this tweet. How these importers beat the securities and the border may look mysterious, but in reality, that's one discovery out of many. Our borders need to be totally overhauled. As it is now elsewhere, we are just making the caricature of ourselves.
And this tweet from Tiska, he or she tweets, says, I totally agree. Most of the equipment in use are obsolete, manually driven, with little or no automation.
From Muhammadu Jamil Sadara, it's obviously true. Virtually nothing has been branded to meet taste of modern age in Nigeria. It is so bad that of all the revenue get in Nigerian reports, no plans to ensure improvement in the system.
All right, those are some of the tweets that we have in the meantime. Just to return to Lagos, where, Mr. Shitu, well, of course, you heard part of the tweet indicating that customs agents are part of the problem, and the controller of customs here with us in the Abuja studio says that as part of the operational procedure, there's an expectation of truthful declaration of the contents of a container, but it would appear that the agents are also part of the underhand dealings. What exactly are we getting the issue right or wrong with regard to the role of each of the persons in the entire process of having a throughput of your cargo?
Thank you very much. I'll start with the statement made by the controller of customs when he talked about people not doing proper declaration and that importers and agents collude to understate what they have. It is for that purpose that the PAR regime was put in place. Whatever the declaration of an importer, the PAR ruling house, you need to go to custom headquarters and go and see their PAR ruling center. It is their duty to investigate the cost of any item that is manufactured anywhere across the world and get a benchmark. That would have made it easier. Majority, almost 90% of the PAR issued by customs have their value of freight elevated because they have done some investigation. But it doesn't stop there. That's why I'm telling you that no matter how long we speak on television, you need to get people to go and investigate what is happening in the port. When your amount has already been uplifted, you have paid your duty. When you get to the port, the custom officers in the port will still uplift that same value. And that gives room for people negotiating. Oh, I don't want to pay this. And the bottom line is you cannot do trade facilitation and do revenue generation. It's only Nigeria customs here that government will wake up in January and say the benchmark for customs is to produce 1 trillion at the end of the year. Customs is not going to manufacture the money. The money customs will collect is a function of what is the level of cargo import that we're having. We already banned about 41 items. They're adding more. There is no forest to import. How can you now say you must meet 1 trillion? It's part of the problem. Custom officers are under pressure to meet that target. And coming back to the issue of machinery being obsolete or not, when 95% of cargoes are going for physical examination, can you imagine, assuming you spend 30 minutes on every container, how many containers can you handle in a day? And that's food for thought. And in Lagos ports alone, not less than 500 containers must leave every day. The system is so cumbersome. When you call agents, there are touts all over the world. There are journalists who are touts. The port has been overwhelmed by people who are not authorized to be in the port. We belong to the Association of Nigerian Licensed Custom Agents. Our members are corporate members. They are licensed by customs to operate. And there is no operator in the port that will not rely on customs to give guidance or go ahead. The port is a custom port. Customs is supposed to be the lead agency in the port. It is when they need NDLA, when they need SON, when they need DAFDAC, that they invite them. That's how it is done all over the world. But no. And that is why each agency has several units. This thing is beyond what we are just talking. It's not impossible for anybody to go and meet an importer and pretend to be an agent. They give him a job, he touts it around, and there are officers even in uniform who are doing the job of clearing agents. But meanwhile, custom put a check. Each company must have what they call Form C30, where the pictures and representatives of the company are put on a card. Custom have their own copy. The customs officers are not supposed to deal with anybody except those who have been declared as representing the company on whose license they are operating. But just like you know that touts have a better relationship with those who are supposed to put checks and balances in place. No matter how very good you are as an importer, no matter how good your declaration is, when you go through the suffering you are going at the port, you will be tempted next time not to declare properly. So it's a catch-22. It goes round. Why should somebody be posted to the port and is going to church or going to mosque to go and do Thanksgiving? He's not going there to do his job. He's thinking of the money he can collect from people. When they put the frustration before you, and the importer is paying about 24,000 naira every day for the container that is yet to be released, the importer will tell my friend, go and sort them out, do anything you can do, let me carry my cargo. You can't fight an officer. It's not possible. We need a holistic system that will bring back the sanity. If we are doing online declaration, let it be that it's only when examination is to be done that presence of people will now be called upon. It has even come to a stage now where you clear your cargo, you have to go to the AIG Maritime to go and take another clearance before your cargo can move. And I can tell you the syndicates that operate within the port premises can remove up to 200 containers of cargo without anybody knowing. Because people are now living on paperwork. And we're supposed to eliminate the paperwork. That is one. Then the agencies themselves are doing the work of clearing agents. Some of them have their licenses. And because of esprit de corps, they are faster than you because they slow you down. And the importer now looks at you, okay, make a Google give this officer Biko, let him do my job for me. So the distortions are already there. It is very important that when we are listening to uniformed officers, they must support themselves. Everything is agent and importer. Yes, it is the duty of a security agent that is paid to defend the interests of the nation, not to succumb to temptation. It is not that, why are you tempting me? You are tempting me, because you are tempting me, I will not take, now let me sign your paper. That is pedestrian. People should be alive to their responsibility. Until we look at the holistic process of clearing cargo in our ports, we will be living in the past, 19th century, as my madam here said. We have traveled all over the world. We have gone to trade. We do self-training on our own. It is the duty of Nigerian Customs Service to even train their licensed custom agents. That's what is done all over the world. ANALCA, under Nigeria, we are board members of International Federation of Custom Brokers Association, called World Custom Brokers Organization. We travel. We go to other ports. We see how they operate. When you go to the port in Nigeria, it's like Jankara Market, and do a due diligence, you discover that 80% of people in the port are not supposed to be there, but they are encouraged. Because the officers operating in the port will bring their brother that is not having a job, sitting down in the area, follow me today, follow me tomorrow. Before you know it, that one has become Kelebe is informant. Before you know it, he will now declare himself that I'm not an agent, helped by his brother who is in uniform. So how do we solve that? So we should not just call a dog a bad name in order to hang it. This container that has disappeared, many more containers have been disappearing, many more will still disappear as long as officers are ready to collude. Simple.
All right. Mr. Shitu, thank you very much for your views. Part of what you indicated earlier was that you have touts all over the world, and according to you, there are journalists who are touts. We just Blessing and I here wanted to seek a clarification or a correction of that. There are touts, who are posturing as journalists, not journalists who are touts. All right, okay. Mr. Shitu and the other guests with us here still in Lagos and the Abuja studios. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll continue with the conversation.
Only you blind, you deaf, dumb, you even mental.
Brother mi, má dá lóhùn. Olórí burúkú ló pọ̀jù nínú wọn.
Oh, brother, you go slap me now.
Expect the cops though. Now
see fine girl. Oh, brother, me.
This week on your award-winning comedy series, Professor John Bull, starring Kanayo Okanayo, Mercy Johnson, Queen Wokoye, Yomi Fash Lanso, Stephen Odingbe.
I just realized I ran out of fuel and I forgot my ATM and wallet at home. Sir, please, could you help me with anything?
Ego transport out of this way. Are you going to Igwenga?
Sir.
Mon Dieu. Hey, Olani, you have eyes to look at Kebe, Abi. So shall it be permanent in your life.
Professor John Bull, this Tuesday and Friday, 8:30 to 9 p.m. on NTA Network, International, and Star Times.
I have catch a big liar in our family.
And who could that be?
Is she a baby papa? Abi, is he a baby mama? Abi, a baby what?
Over and out.
Welcome to the new speed of life.
NTA Television College, an affiliate of Ahmadu Bello University Zaria, a specialized institution charged to provide quality professional education in television production, engineering, and journalism. The college is offering 4 weeks course on computer graphics and animations to train new entrants and retraining of existing media operatives. Date 6th February to 3rd March 2017. Registration 100,000 naira with accommodation. Also, 1 week intensive course in advanced management techniques for executive officers, CEOs, COOs, managers, and heads of admin. Date 13th of March to 17th of March 2017. Registration 20,000 naira. Another 4 weeks course on principles and practice of marketing for marketing heads in radios and television houses, public relation agencies, media heads in advertising, brand support managers, media brokers, and heads of corporate affairs. Date 20th of March to 14th April 2017. Registration 100,000 naira with accommodation. All courses will take place at NTA Television College Rayfield Jos. For more inquiries, call 08069809807 or call 070-366-07155 or email us at ntacollege@gmail.com. NTA Television College, training you to be the best you want to be.
Beautiful things are happening when the sun goes down, and when the night is darkest, that's the time our light shines bright. It's good to take some time away to put a smile on someone's face. To smile for me, smile for you, smile because you know that happiness is sure. Let your joy be more. So everywhere you go, you can make your laughter loud. Oh, you don't have to be fair to make your presence felt. No matter where you are, we can be together in love. Oh, together in love. Happiness is sure. Let your joy be more. So everywhere you go, you can make your laughter loud. You don't have to be there to make your presence felt. No matter where you are, we can be together in love. Together in love. No matter where you live, together in love. No matter where you are, together in love.
All right, you're welcome back. And it's still Good Morning Nigeria, and we are reaching you live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Listen.
Yes, so we have guests still seated, and we'll take a look at issue of ports activities and how it affects us and our economy. Okay, Dr. Soluka, yes, you've had time to actually listen to some of the areas of interest from Lagos as well as the custom boss here. Now, what exactly should be done in addressing some of these gray areas that we have pointed out as is expected? Internationally, we want to move forward. The issue of scanners, of course, is there, and other areas of who should be at the ports exactly.
By definition, the port is a customs area, so the lead agency is the customs. But in Nigeria, you see that each agency is in its own silos, and they don't really communicate, because if they do, they don't need to be there in order to be sure that their own perspective would be on the process. My worry is, if you look at what has happened, it creates impetus for some agencies to now claim or justify their presence at the port. Say the security, the National Security Advisor could now enforce that the primary duty of state is security. So we can't fold our arms in order to aid facilitation, and all sorts of things will come into Nigeria. NAFDAC, if there are certain, they say, well, we must be there. But these things have to be streamlined, because basically, port is an interface. It's where ships berth in order to discharge cargo, sometimes passengers. And the primary duty there is trade facilitation. And if you don't get it right, Nigerian ports would lose its ranking, which is why most times you see our stuff getting discharged in Republic of Benin and Togo and all that. So to get it right, we have talked and talked and talked about this. And I don't think it's reinventing the wheel. It is the will to implement. Because most times the problem in Nigeria is not setting up committees. It's not coming up with reports. Reports are there, but the will to implement. If there was will to implement, by the time we were phasing out what we call the Comprehensive Import Supervision Scheme, one would have thought that the Nigerian Customs Service would have been put on a platform to provide that kind of service. Remember before we have pre-inspection, and now we have destination. It's recursive. One problem comes, you go back to but it's not like reinventing the way. If you go to modern ports, you'll be surprised that you don't even see individuals. You don't. Ship comes, the containers as they are being put down, they are scanned, and the documentation, except there's a red flag, then you begin to monitor and insist on physical examination.
Dr. Soluka,
yes,
that's a point that one of the guests raised. Is there tension between the task of trade facilitation and revenue target imposed or prescribed for the customs year in, year out? Assuming there is such a tension, how can we resolve this?
In the short run, there could appear to be tension, but in the long run, trade facilitation could boost revenue. It means more faith and confidence other importers will have in your port. So the volume of trade will increase. But you see, importers are human beings. They vote with their legs. If the structures in Lagos are obsolete, okay, take the Nigerian port system. Why is there, we don't have what we call intra-port competition? About 70-75% of the cargo for Nigeria are in Lagos. That's right. And when you look at even our Papa, gateway, it's blocked. So unwittingly, even at the port, the problem can even start from outside the port. How do you evacuate these containers? When you have about 200 containers lined up, and you cause what we call land-based congestion, and that would even affect the delivery or the throughput when ships come, and it begins to affect, the turnaround of ships. So a modern port is a modern port. It's technology driven. And there is nothing that is so difficult about this, if there is sincerity. It takes about 90 days or less for the sea importation. If it is the airway bill, that could be within a week or two. Within that process, certain things should have been sorted out. If someone declares that I'm importing food item, in the so-called pre-arrival assessment report, you notify NAFDAC. 10 containers are coming and they are bearing food-related items. Did you give permit or not? So within that period, these things are sorted out. So when we want to modernize sports, you minimize the human interface. You make it more seamless. From the bank, what we call the authorized dealers, before they each open their Form M, before it gets to custom, everybody has a pre-knowledge on the kind of importation. For manufacturers, I pity them. I mean, in those days where you have many companies, in Kano, you have the trucks and all that. If that kind of volume comes, how would you people cope?
All right. Yeah, Dr. Solukat, well, thank you very much for your views. Just to return to our Lagos Network studios and Blessing, just before we bring in the Comptroller of Customs, as each of the guests has been speaking, something just triggered. If you recall, one of the sins, it was said then, of the Gowon administration had to do with port congestion, the so-called cement armada that had clogged, the Lagos ports. This was well over 40 years ago. And if you recall, Dr. Asolokan, I'm sure the other guests, in the early 80s, there were always stories about pre-shipment inspection, pre-shipment, whatever, every story. After a while, people were just wondering, look, when will all of this end? Every now and then, reform. And still, I mean, the verdict would appear to be, listen, we have regressed back, to the 19th century. When the Portuguese first arrived in Benin Empire in the 15th century, they had no delays, no congestion whatsoever. That was Gonzalez who brought in the first ship. But let's return to our Lagos network studios. Mr. John Aluya, I just wanted to ask this question. The Comptroller of Customs says that, look, we do not have sometimes truthful declaration of the contents of a container by the agents. Some people would say also would imply some collusion between importers, whether big time or small time, who probably are also members of your association. What's your reaction to this?
Thank you very much. I think first and foremost, I don't want to join issue with the big boss of customs, but the truth of the matter is this. If the truth is that declarations are not being done properly, how come the container are being released after examination? What did you find inside the container? What you find is exactly as the declaration. That's why they were released. So the idea of saying that truthful declaration, well, all over the world, you cannot say that every declaration is 100% regulate them. That is why we have been advocating that a neutral commercial regulator should be put in place that is independent of both NPA, the terminal operator, and the shipping line. In that case, you have a balanced view. Today, everything rests with Nigerian Ports Authority, and Nigerian Ports Authority cannot say anything. If you report a terminal operator to Nigerian Ports Authority, he will not act on him because obviously he pays him his rent. His first duty is to, how do I get my rent first? So we need a neutral body to be put in place as a commercial regulator of the activities of all the operators at the ports.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Aluya. We'll back with you to take on the look on the other parts as we conclude the conversation this morning. But to the customs here now. Of course, we talked about the need for government to actually take a look at some of these scanners that are not appropriate. Issue of technology, no doubt. There's no way running away from that. Yes. But could there be a reason for some of these scanners or technology employed in the years past were actually working under the consultants and some other people who were actually in charge? Some of observers' reports have been that it seems the custom actually took over properly, that caused this deliberate action in actually going back to physical examination. Now, we're hoping to get something very soon. What is the level of training your men? What kind of training do you have? And how ready are they to actually capture that, which is new for us in this dispensation as we move forward?
Our officers are well trained as far as concerning aspects of the duties is concerned. What I would say, in case, of course, we are expecting new scanners are likely to be brought in. Definitely, before they are brought in, our officers are happy to be trained on such scanners.
So they are brought in, or you already
No, I mean before they are brought, they may not bring the types that we have now. I'm sure of that, because they feel these ones they didn't suit us here in Nigeria. So I think they're going to buy advanced ones. And what is normally done, our officers will go to where these scanners are going to be bought from, train on them before now they are brought in here to Nigeria, so that they can operate them properly.
But to appear that the customs service is very much at home with the physical examination, thereby undercutting or undermining what revenue is supposed to have in this aspect of trade facilitation, really. Why was
in fact, we don't even like physical examination. That's the truth about it. We don't like physical examination. Do you know it takes minimum of 1 week, at times 2 weeks before a container is brought down. When an agent make an application to bring his container for examination, for customs examination, it takes minimum of 2 weeks to examine. And an officer will be there sometimes 3 hours examining one container, because the label that we provided will not be enough. After maybe bringing just 1/3 of the load, they will say they're tight. What can you do?
No,
that's the truth about it. So we don't like actually physical examination. That's the truth I can tell you.
Have the scanners broken down completely, or that that the pace is not adequate for your function?
No, they have broken down completely.
All over the country?
No, not all over the country. No, with the one is still in working condition. The one is semi.
The one is semi, but yes. The ones at Tinkan,
yes, they are not working.
What about Apapa?
They are not working too.
All right. Well, that's the controller of customs. Just to indicate that we have additional tweets, that's reactions coming in from our viewers. Ishola Adeniyi has this tweet. Nigerian ports, according to Ishola Adeniyi, Nigerian ports are full of rogue agencies. Now, this encourages some importers to bring in deadly goods into the country.
Bright Irene, the men of customs service know how to track down any contraband goods. But because of everybody are so, because everyone is so eager to get something illegal. That's how it happens.
Okay, and then we have this from Ishaq Abdul Hamid. No matter the efficiency of a system or process, now so long as there's no sincerity or the will to make it work, it will fail.
Change to progress. It is clear that until we're ready to deal with corruption, this country won't make progress at all. Nigerians, we have to change.
Abraham Victor, Nigerian ports have high political influence. That's why upgrading its scanning system is taboo to the government.
From Muhammadu Jamil Sadara, no doubt gross corruption in Nigerian ports is an institution. The whole system needed thorough cleaning and possible with sanitizer.
All right, we have this from Festus Akimboyewa. Festus Akimboyewa tweet says the controller of customs says scanners were captured in the 2017 or 2016 budget. There is no reason for the customs officer in the studio to be dismissive.
From change to progress again, yes, we have problems with customs and other government agencies, but what about importers that declare false products? Nigerians, change your ways.
Ibeneme Dominic has this tweet. The truth is that, according to him, the thieves in our ports don't want our ports to be fully automated so they could thrive. Forget their stories.
Bright Irene again, scanners too expensive that customs service cannot afford? Is the question. Mr. Customs, sir, I have shipped many cars and trucks to Nigeria. I know what I paid for clearance.
And Olayemi Hamzat, now the system needs total overhaul. Those are the tweets. We are actually on the home stretch now of this conversation. You know, time it's been gobbled up so fast on account of the contributions. Let's get now the closing thoughts of our guests. First, I would like to return to our Lagos Network studios and Princess Victoria Hastrop. You listened to Mr. John Aloya seated beside you there in the Lagos studios. He was making a proposition with regard to a revenue collector, you know, well, an agency rather than the landlord, you know, that the NPA is, and you need somebody to also oversight the terminal operators. What's your take on this?
Thank you. The terminal operators are not opposed to the appointment of a regulator. As a matter of fact, when the constitution of the port was done in 2006, it was made very, very clear in the concession agreement that we all signed with government, you know, by extension, BP, MPA, that an economic regulator of the port will be appointed. But of course, that regulator cannot be appointed without the passage of the Port and Harbour bills. So it's important for the legislature's arms of government to ensure that the Port and Harbour's bill is passed, because the passage of that bill will usher in the appointment of the port's regulatory body. So that's long overdue as long as we are concerned. You know, he is right that MPA cannot regulate her subordinates, you know, lessee. You know, it's right. And I'm sure that MPA is also not, you know, asking to be the regulator. You know, so the passage of the bill is long overdue. We enjoy the legislative arm of government to ensure that that passage of the bill is concluded as soon as possible. This is well over 10 years now. And it's also important to have an holistic approach to port operations in Nigeria, particularly as it relates to the functions and duties of customs service. I would want to suggest that a neutral body should be constituted to actually do an operational audit of the customs service. If we are really sure to increase ports business facilitation, you know, in Nigeria, it's very, very important, because if you appoint or constitute somebody, a body within the system, they will see nothing. Because the problem is really, really, really big. What we are talking here, we cannot just sit here and conclude everything without government, you know, constituting a neutral body to audit, to do an operational audit of the customs service. Because the customs service is very key to the whole port operations in Nigeria. If the customs do not do their job, the ports will suffer.
Princess Victoria Hastrop. She's chairperson of the Sea Terminal Operators Association of Nigeria. She joins us from our Lagos network studios. We'd like to thank you for participating in our discussion this morning. We Also would like to thank the other two guests who spoke to us from our Lagos Network Center, Mr. John Aluya, representing the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, as well as Mr. Olaiwola Shitu, who is President, Association of Customs Licensed Agents. Gentlemen, we'd like to thank you for your insights. We know that there are no quick fixes to these issues. Thank you for your contribution.
Thank you.
Thank you.
From our Lagos to our Abuja studios, we'd like to thank Dr. Chris Asoluka, former member of the House of Reps, as well as transport economist with special focus on shipping. Dr. Asoluka, thank you for your participation in our discussion this morning.
Thank you.
And also, we'd like to appreciate the Comptroller of Customs in charge of import and export here at the Abuja headquarters of the Nigerian Customs Service, Madam Othman Abdul Saleh. Thank you very much for being part of our discussion this morning.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so that does it for our discussion segment on Good Morning Nigeria. We'll move on now to our complementary segments where we have some foreign stories first.